You've probably been in this moment before. She's smiling, she's laughing, she's clearly into you. And then, without warning, she goes cold. The texts slow down, the calls stop, and you're left replaying everything in your head, wondering what went wrong. Here's the truth. It's not random, and it's not bad luck. She's responding to something you don't even realize you're doing. And if you keep doing it, every woman you want will eventually pull away. The dangerous part? Most men never figure out the real reason, so they repeat the same cycle over and over. Attract, lose, repeat. But here's the twist. It has nothing to do with your looks, your bank account, or how funny you are. It's about one hidden skill almost every man ignores. And the ones who master it? They don't just get the girl. They make her fight to keep them. This is where it changes, if you want it to. Subscribe now, then drop a comment making one commitment. The kind of man you'll be from this day forward. Let your words be a public promise, because once you put it out there, you'll feel the push to live up to it. In the next few minutes, I'll give you the first, most critical step toward becoming that man, and never losing her interest again. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will feel like I'm kicking over the table you've been playing on for years. The biggest lie men swallow in dating is that you have to win her over. You've been sold a script: chase, prove your worth, shower her with attention until she finally chooses you. That script is the reason you keep losing. Here's the cold truth. The more you chase, the faster she runs. When you throw yourself at her like she's a trophy you need to earn, you're telling her one thing: I am not enough unless you validate me. That energy is repellent. You think you're showing interest. What she feels is desperation. Women are not drawn to men who orbit them like lost moons. They're drawn to men who are their own gravity. Men who stand still, grounded, with a life so solid that she feels pulled into it without you lifting a finger. Chasing reverses that dynamic. It puts her in the power seat and you in the audition chair performing for approval. Let's break down the psychology. In a chase, you set her as the prize and yourself as the pursuer. Every action you take says, you're the one who decides if I'm worthy. And when someone already has the power to grant or withhold your worth, attraction turns into control. You've handed her the frame. And here's the kicker. The more you chase, the less she has to invest. Why should she? You're doing all the work. She's not feeling the excitement of earning your time, your attention, your respect. You've stripped the mystery away. Let me give you a real-world example. A client of mine, we'll call him Daniel, had been texting this woman daily, always initiating, always suggesting plans. She'd respond, but with lukewarm energy. One day, he decided to stop initiating. Not to play a game, but to focus on his own life. He filled his days with work that mattered, gym sessions he'd been skipping, and catching up with friends. Within a week, she noticed. "You've been quiet," she texted. He didn't bite with an apology or an excuse. He just said he'd been busy. That was the first time she suggested meeting up without him asking. Why? Because he flipped the dynamic. He stopped acting like her attention was oxygen. Men, you need to understand this. Attraction thrives in space, not in smothering. When you step back from the chase, you create room for her to move toward you. If she doesn't, that's your answer. She was never truly interested. And that's a win for you, because now you know not to waste another ounce of your energy. This isn't about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about reclaiming the position you were never supposed to give up. The position of a man who knows his value without needing someone else to sign off on it. If you want to stop losing before you start, burn the old script. Erase the idea that you have to prove yourself to a woman who hasn't proven herself to you. Build a life so magnetic she can feel the pull without you ever stepping into a chase. That's where attraction begins, and it begins with you. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. A man who can't master his emotions will never master his relationships. Period. I've watched too many men sabotage themselves because they let her mood become their mood. She's distant, so you panic. She's upset, so you scramble to fix it. She tests your boundaries, and you either snap in anger or shrink into compliance. That's not leadership. That's emotional slavery. Women don't consciously sit around thinking, I want to test him today. But they feel things deeply, and part of their attraction mechanism is to see if you can hold steady when the waves hit. If you can't, she can't trust you. And if she can't trust you, she will never fully invest in you. Mastering your emotions isn't about pretending you don't feel anything. You're human, not a rock. It's about being the thermostat, not the thermometer. A thermometer reacts instantly to the environment. A thermostat sets the environment. When she's in a storm, she needs to see that you're the calm eye in the middle of it, not another gust of wind knocking things over. So how do you get there? Step 1. Control your breathing. Sounds basic, but your nervous system listens to your breath. When you're triggered, slow it down. Deep, controlled breaths signal your body that you're safe. That pause gives you a choice instead of a reflex. Step 2. Buy yourself time. You don't have to respond instantly to every emotional flare-up. Pause, assess, then respond with intention. That's not weakness, it's discipline. The man who pauses before he speaks often controls the entire conversation. Step 3. Rewire your inner dialogue. Most men's thoughts spiral when tension hits. She's mad. Did I screw up? Is she losing interest? Stop narrating disaster in your head. Replace it with grounded truths. Her emotions are hers. Mine are mine. I respond on my terms. Let me show you the difference it makes. 2 men get the same situation. She suddenly pulls back during dinner, checking her phone more than usual. The first man feels a punch in the gut. He leans in, overcompensates, asks if she's mad, tries harder to keep her attention. She feels the pressure and withdraws further. The second man notices, but doesn't flinch. He stays relaxed, engages with his meal, asks her about her day without tension in his voice. He's not ignoring her. He's showing that her mood doesn't dictate his state. Guess which man she respects? Men, this isn't just about dating. Emotional mastery bleeds into every area of your life. Business, friendships, even how you handle yourself alone at 2 a.m. when your thoughts start getting loud. You either run your emotions or they run you. And here's the part that stings. If you can't keep your own center, she will eventually find someone who can. It's not because she's cruel. It's because deep down, every woman wants to feel safe with the man she chooses. Safety doesn't just mean physical protection. It means emotional stability. So stop letting the weather outside dictate your climate inside. Build the muscle of self-control every day in the small moments. That way, when the big storms come, and they will, you're not just standing. You're the lighthouse in the dark, and she knows you'll still be there when the sun comes up. Most men have no idea how much damage careless words can do, or how much attraction they can build when used with precision. They think winning her over is about witty lines or over-the-top compliments. That's why they blend into the noise. Here's the thing. She's heard "you're beautiful" more times than you've tied your shoes. Those words don't even land anymore. They slide right off because they're generic, safe, and given to every woman by every man who wants something. You're not competing with her ex or her coworker. You're competing with the constant stream of meaningless attention she gets every day. If you want your words to matter, they have to be rare, real, and relevant. And it starts with the simplest, most underestimated move. Use her name. Not in every sentence like a salesman who read a networking book, but at key moments when you're making a genuine point or delivering a compliment. Her name is personal. It cuts through the noise because it's hers. It says, "I see you." Next, stop complimenting what everyone else can see. Her hair, her smile, her dress. Those are low-hanging fruit. They don't separate you from the crowd. Instead, listen for what she reveals about herself. Does she light up when she talks about her work? Tell her, "I like how much passion you have for what you do. Most people don't care about their work that way." That's not flattery. That's recognition. Real compliments require real attention, and that's where most men fail. They're too busy planning their next move to actually hear her. You can't give a meaningful compliment if you don't know who she is beneath the surface. There's also a trap you need to avoid: compliment inflation. When you give too many, they lose their value. If every time she breathes you tell her she's amazing, you've created background noise. A compliment should feel like currency: scarce, valuable, and earned. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is withhold a compliment until it actually means something. You don't need to reward every dress, every hairstyle, every effort she makes. Let her feel the weight of your words when you do give them. That scarcity makes them hit harder. Another strategic move? Gratitude. But not the lazy thanks that gets tossed around without thought. I'm talking about intentional gratitude for the small things she does that others overlook. If she makes time for you in a packed week, acknowledge it. I know you've been busy. I appreciate you making time for this. That shows her you're paying attention to her efforts, not just her appearance. Let me give you a contrast. Picture two men after a great date. One says, "You're gorgeous. I had a great time." The other says, "I liked how you completely forgot about your phone tonight. It's rare to be that present with someone." Guess which one she'll think about later? The second man isn't just complimenting her, he's making her feel seen in a way that most people never do. Words are tools. Used carelessly, they're just noise. Used with intention, they're influence. And influence isn't about manipulation, it's about connection. You want her to feel that when you speak, it matters. That when you open your mouth, you're not just filling space, you're saying something worth remembering. Speak less, but make every word carry weight. That's how you stand out in a world full of men who just talk. Let me be blunt. If your actions don't match your words, you're done. It doesn't matter how smooth you talk, how well you deliver compliments, or how sharp your conversation game is. Women are experts at sensing disconnect. If your body language, your habits, and your consistency don't back up what you say, she'll feel it. And once she feels it, trust evaporates. First, let's talk about body language. Most men think it's just about standing tall or making eye contact. But posture isn't just physical, it's emotional. If you stand with your shoulders slouched, shifting your weight, fidgeting, or looking around the room while she's talking, you're broadcasting uncertainty. You're telling her without saying a word, "I'm not entirely comfortable in my own skin." And here's the problem. If you're not confident being you, why should she be confident in choosing you? A grounded man plants his feet, opens his chest, and moves with intention. His eyes stay steady, not staring her down like a predator, but meeting her gaze with presence. Every movement is deliberate. No rushing, no frantic scanning. This isn't arrogance, it's ownership of your space. Next, small gestures. Forget the Hollywood idea that you need grand romantic displays. Flowers delivered to her office, surprise trips, choreographed declarations of love. That's performative. What's powerful is remembering the details. She tells you 3 weeks ago that her favorite tea is Earl Grey. Have it waiting the next time she comes over. She mentions she's nervous about a presentation. Follow up the day after and ask how it went. Those moments tell her you listen, you remember, and you care. Not because you're trying to buy her affection, but because it's who you are. Then there's consistency. This is where most men collapse. They start strong, then fade when the novelty wears off. Or they have good days where they show up fully, and bad days where they're checked out and distracted. A man of value is steady. His interest doesn't swing wildly based on how much validation he's getting. She can feel that stability, and it makes her feel safe. Let me give you a side-by-side. Man A tells her, "I'm the kind of guy you can count on." But he cancels plans last minute, forgets things she tells him, and reacts emotionally when he's stressed. Man B never makes that claim, but he's always on time, remembers her stories, and handles challenges calmly. Who do you think she believes? The guy who said it or the guy who proved it? One more point, and it's a warning. Don't mistake doing things for her with proving yourself to her. If your actions are secretly fueled by the hope of a reward, she'll sense the transaction behind it. True presence and genuine gestures are about giving without attachment. That's what builds respect. Here's the mindset shift you need. You're not performing for her approval. You're expressing who you are. Your actions should be the natural byproduct of your standards, your values, and your attention to detail. When that's authentic, she feels it, and it makes more impact than any scripted line ever could. At the end of the day, you can talk a big game, but it's the man who consistently shows who he is that stays in her mind. Actions aren't just louder than words. They're the only thing she believes in the long run. Most men look good when things are easy. Anyone can be charming when the conversation flows, the date is perfect, and she's smiling at every joke. But the real test of a man's value isn't when the sun's out. It's when the storm hits. That's when she finds out who you really are. Here's what you need to understand. Adversity is not an interruption in attraction. It's part of the attraction test. When something goes wrong, she's watching, not to see if you can fix everything, but to see how you carry yourself when you can't. Scenario 1. The date goes badly. Maybe the food takes forever, the waiter is rude, or the vibe just feels off. Most guys will scramble to force the night back on track, overcompensating with nervous chatter, apologizing for things they can't control, or visibly stressing out. All that does is signal that the situation is bigger than they are. A man of presence handles it differently. He stays relaxed, maybe even makes light of the delay, shifts the conversation somewhere engaging. His calmness tells her, "We're fine, I'm fine, and you're fine with me." That emotional steadiness is more attractive than any perfect plan could be. Scenario 2, she starts to pull away. This is where 90% of men blow it. The second they feel her becoming distant, they go into panic mode, texting more, calling more, demanding clarity, or trying to win her back before she's even left. That desperation drives her further away. A man who handles adversity like a champion doesn't chase when someone pulls back. He notices, gives space, and continues living his life fully. Not as a tactic, but as a principle. I don't beg for what's pulling away. I don't collapse when something changes. When you step back in those moments, you give her the gift of missing you. You also make a quiet statement. Your self-worth isn't tied to her immediate attention. That alone can shift the entire dynamic, often in your favor. Now, let's talk strategy. The simplest formula I teach men in these moments is pause, assess, respond. Pause. Don't react instantly. Emotional knee-jerks are where you lose control. Assess. What's actually happening here? Is it her bad day? A misunderstanding? Or a genuine shift in interest? Respond. Choose the action that keeps you aligned with your standards, not the one that tries to soothe your insecurity. This formula works in dating, in business, even in confrontations with friends or family. Why? Because it forces you to lead from a place of intention, not impulse. I've seen this principle save relationships and end them with dignity. One client of mine noticed his girlfriend withdrawing. Instead of chasing, he addressed it directly once, calmly, and then stepped back. She later told him his response made her reevaluate, because he didn't crumble under pressure. She realized she felt safer with him than she'd thought. Men, remember this: storms are inevitable. A flat tire, a canceled flight, an argument that comes out of nowhere. These aren't bad luck moments. They're opportunities to show her the man you are when control slips away. If you can stay composed in chaos, you're rare, and rarity is magnetic. One of the most dangerous traps men fall into is thinking they have to become the man she wants instead of being the man they truly are. At first, it feels harmless. You like her, so you adjust a little here, compromise a little there. But slowly, piece by piece, You trade your identity for her approval. By the time you notice, you're a stranger in your own life. Here's the brutal truth. The moment you start reshaping yourself to fit her expectations, you stop being the man she was attracted to in the first place. She didn't fall for a blank slate waiting to be painted. She was drawn to your edges, your quirks, your convictions. The minute you sand those down, you become forgettable. Now, don't twist this into stubbornness. Refusing to grow isn't strength, it's laziness. There's a difference between improving yourself and erasing yourself. Growth is about becoming a sharper, stronger version of your core self. Losing yourself is about abandoning your core entirely. Ask yourself this: if you weren't with her, would you still dress like this, think like this, spend your time like this? If the answer is no, you're living on borrowed identity. The psychology behind this is simple. When you adapt yourself to someone else's preferences, you send the message, your opinion matters more than my truth. At first, she might enjoy the attention, but over time, it drains the attraction because you've given up the polarity, the dynamic tension between two individuals who choose each other, not merge into one shapeless blob. Here's a case in point. I worked with a man named Alex who loved hiking, photography, and playing in a local band. He started dating a woman who wasn't into any of those things. Little by little, he stopped going on hikes, sold his camera to focus on the relationship, and quit the band because she didn't like the late nights. Within a year, he was resentful, bored, and here's the kicker: she left him. She told him he'd changed and wasn't the same man she'd met. And she was right. Men, attraction isn't just about what you do for her. It's about the life you have with or without her. That's the life she's choosing to join. If you burn it down to fit her mold, there's nothing left for her to admire and nothing for you to stand on if she walks away. So what's the solution? Build a life that reflects your values, passions, and priorities, and guard it. Invite her into it, but don't rewrite it for her. When disagreements come up, find compromises that respect both sides, not ones that erase yours. If you feel the urge to change something about yourself, ask why. Is it because it aligns with who you want to be, or because it might get her to like you more? The first leads to growth. The second leads to self-erasure. When you keep your identity intact, two things happen. You keep your own sense of worth, and you maintain the polarity that fuels long-term attraction. You're not afraid of losing her because you're not losing yourself. And that kind of man is nearly impossible to replace. Attraction is the spark. Retention is the fire. Too many men think once she's interested, the work is done. That's why they lose her just as quickly as they got her. You don't just want to light a fire, you want to keep it burning without smothering it. The first shift you need to make is understanding that presence and distance must coexist. In the early days, your presence draws her in. The way you listen, the way you make her feel seen, the way you stand in your own frame. But if you give her 24/7 access, if you're always available, always responding instantly, you kill the very tension that keeps her engaged. Think of it like music. The notes matter, but so does the silence between them. That space creates anticipation. The same principle applies to relationships. When you know when to step back, you create what I call the hunger effect. She starts wondering when she'll see you, what you're doing, and why she's thinking about you so much. Here's where most men fail. They either smother with constant presence or disappear completely. The key is rhythm. Be intentional with your time together, fully present when you're with her, but just as committed to your own life when you're apart. That contrast keeps her attention from going stale. The second piece is building a parallel life that's magnetic on its own. She should see that you have passions, goals, and people who matter to you outside of her. When your life is full, she's not the only source of your happiness, and paradoxically, that makes her want to be part of it more. One of my clients, Chris, learned this the hard way. Early in his relationship, he was always available. If she wanted to meet, he dropped everything. If she called, he picked up no matter what. At first, she liked the attention. But within months, she started canceling plans and making excuses. The turning point came when he started reclaiming his life, hitting the gym regularly, joining a business mastermind, and traveling with friends. She went from canceling dates to asking when she could see him again. It's not about playing hard to get, it's about being hard to replace. Another crucial element of retention is emotional consistency. Attraction can get her attention, but it's your stability that keeps her invested. That doesn't mean you never have bad days. It means your highs and lows don't make her feel like she's on a roller coaster. When she knows what she's getting with you, she can relax into the connection instead of constantly evaluating if you're worth the emotional risk. And finally, understand this. Long-term attraction is built on respect. Respect for your time, your boundaries, and your standards. If you start compromising those just to keep her happy, you'll lose the very respect that makes her stay. When you master the balance of presence and distance, keep building a life worth joining, and remain emotionally consistent, you shift from being just another guy she's dating to being a man she sees as a long-term pillar in her life. That's the difference between attraction and retention. You don't have to chase her to keep her. You have to keep being the man she chose in the first place, and keep living in a way that makes her want to choose you again, every day. Here's the truth you can't avoid. There's no secret pickup line, no magic text, no quick trick to make a woman fall in love. There's only you, the man you build, the standards you live by, the presence you carry. That's what she feels. That's what makes her choose you. You've seen why chasing kills attraction, why mastering your emotions is the foundation, how the right words connect deeper than flattery, why consistent action outlasts promises, how adversity reveals your value, why protecting your identity keeps her interest, and how to turn a spark into something lasting. Forget even one pillar, and you'll slip back into the same patterns, chasing, over-apologizing, bending into someone you're not. Women don't fall for the mask. They fall for the man beneath it, if he's worth loving. Right now, you have two choices. Close this video and hope things work out, or commit to becoming the man who commands respect, holds his ground, and never begs for connection. Choose the second path and everything changes. Not just dating, but your career, your confidence, your life. Subscribe if you're done playing small. Comment the pillar you'll work on first, and why. A year from now, you could have more than the woman you want. You could have the life you deserve. The game isn't about getting her. It's about keeping yourself. When you do, the rest follows naturally.